After the U.S. Supreme Court blocked its reciprocal tariff policy, the Trump administration wasted no time activating what it calls Plan B. The White House is now leaning on Section 301 and other trade authorities to pivot to a more tailored, country and sector-specific tariff regime, a sign it's doubling down on a sharper, more surgical trade strategy.
트럼프 행정부가 상호관세 제동 이후 플랜 B를 본격 가동했습니다. 무역법 301조 등을 활용해 국가 품목별로 선별 적용하는 핀셋형 고율관세 체제로 전환하겠다는 방침입니다.
네.
So we go from 10% global tariffs to 15% global tariffs and now Section 301.
Right.
What is this Section 301?
Well, let's do a little bit of a crash course in the U.S. Trade Act, which is what I did today, studied today for myself, because I don't think people would just commonly know what these sections mean. But Section 122 of the Trade Act allows the president to impose across-the-board tariffs for up to 150 days, just in the case of very serious trade imbalances. So that's what he's done for the time being. Then after that, it's going to move to that more long-term, kind of more targeted tariff regime using Section 301 and Section 232. So,
Okay.
you want to get into it?
Yes. Well, what do those two, the latter two, mean?
Right. Section 232 is for product-specific tariffs. These are on national security grounds.
Okay.
So steel and autos are already under those duties, and then they're investigating maybe putting them on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals as well.
Which will definitely affect us if it's applied to semiconductors.
Yeah, autos as well, of course. All of this is, a lot of it is definitely going to affect Korea. Section 301, certainly. It's kind of the nuclear option. It authorizes the U.S. to unilaterally retaliate against what it deems unfair trade practices. So that's kind of up to the...
It's quite arbitrary.
Exactly. And the Trump administration has been very kind of particular about... defining what that is right now. And in that case, Section 301 has no cap on tariff rates, no fixed time limit, and pretty much broad presidential discretion.
So essentially limitless.
Pretty much. So you could see how that would be appealing to Trump.
네. 그래서 저희가 어제 이브닝 뉴스에서도 다뤘던 그 15% 글로벌 관세 있잖아요. 그거는 앞으로 150일까지만 적용돼서 이제 시간을 확보하는 거고요. 그 이후에는 무역법 301조 그리고 무역 확장법 232조로 이제 고율 관세로 전환할 예정인데 그러면 301과 232가 각각 뭐냐? 우선 232조는 품목 관세에 대한 거예요. 명목상 국가 안보를 위해 부과할 수 있는 거고 더 무서운 건 301조인데 이거는 쉽게 말해서 무한 보복 관세입니다. 세율 상한도 없고 기한도 없고 대통령 재량 폭이 넓은데 이거는 외국의 불공정 무역 관행에 대응하기 위한 조항으로 있습니다.
So it gives essentially the president freedom to do whatever he sees as being just. Now, the big question, it looks like 232 will be applied to semiconductors. What about 301? Will we be affected?
Yes, well, certainly. Because South Korea posted around $50 billion trade surplus with the U.S. last year, that kind of puts it in the target zone for these tariffs. But on the other hand, about 6,000 Korean firms may be eligible to seek refunds on previously imposed reciprocal tariffs after the U.S. Supreme Court found that those reciprocal tariffs were actually illegal. But a lot of them are kind of moving forward cautiously because it's going to be a very expensive and very drawn-out process with uncertain conclusion at the end.
Right. And if you do reach the conclusion that you had hoped for, you do worry about further retaliatory measures, right?
Right, exactly. You may put a little red target on yourself.
Right, flagging yourself.
Exactly.
Let's have a look at this expression, waste no time.
Do it right now.
Okay, we are not wasting any time.
Yeah, do it directly right away.
그러니까 기다리면서 머뭇거리면서 waste, 시간을 낭비하지 않는 것이 waste no time. 지체하지 않고 하다, 바로 행동하다. 라는 뜻이고요.
She wasted no time explaining that expression.
Exactly. Now let me pivot to my next expression, which is pivot to something.
Right, which is pivoting means turning, right? Especially on one point. So you shift your strategy, you move your focus, or you change direction, usually in response to some sort of change or new conditions that are happening.
Pivot to something, 몸으로 방향을 바꾸다, 전환하다 라는 뜻이고요. Surgical, this is a little bit difficult.
Well, surgical, of course, is usually a medical expression, and it's a type of profession which requires a lot of precision and a high level of skill. So if something is done surgically, it's done very, very precisely and very, very accurately.
아하. surgical 이게 원래는 뭐 수술적인이라고 쓰는데 여기서는 수술을 하듯이 정밀하고 목표가 명확할 때 사용하는 표현입니다. surgical. Here's the story once again. After the U.S. Supreme Court blocked its reciprocal tariff policy, the Trump administration wasted no time activating what it calls Plan B. The White House is now leaning on Section 301 and other trade authorities to pivot to a more tailored, country and sector-specific tariff regime, a sign it is doubling down on a sharper, more surgical trade strategy. Okay. Staying with the U.S. and what it is telling its ambassadors to do.
The U.S. State Department has directed non-essential staff and family members at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut to leave Lebanon. With military options against Iran reportedly under consideration, the regime could be on the brink of a wider conflict.
미국 국무부가 레바논 베이루트 주재 대사관에 비필수 인력과 가족들에게 철수령을 내렸습니다. 이란에 대한 군사적 대응 가능성이 거론되면서 중동 지역의 긴장 수위가 빠르게 높아지고 있습니다. Okay, so the region could be on the brink of a wider conflict. It's always worrying when you hear the central government telling its embassy workers to evacuate that particular jurisdiction.
Absolutely, very concerning. That's exactly what happened on the 23rd. The State Department said all those non-essential staff and their families out of Beirut, the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. An estimated 30 to 50 people have left, so there's still the essential staff in place. But in the past, similar embassy drawdowns where they get people to leave, they are viewed as a precursor to military action. That's a command that happens before an attack. And of course, Iran has repeatedly warned that it would target U.S. facilities in the region if there's any aggression by Washington. And the U.S. has been pumping lots of assets into the Middle East right now near Iran, including 2 aircraft carriers, dozens of fighter jets, warships, surveillance aircraft. So you could see how things are getting a little bit tense over there. It's described as the largest buildup since the Iraq War.
Okay. 이번 철수 명령으로 30에서 50명의 대사관 직원들이 이미 출국한 것으로 추정되는데요. 미국이나 이스라엘이 이란을 직접 공격하면 이란이 레바논 안에 있는 친이란 프록시, 무장 세력, 대리 세력, 헤즈볼라를 통해 보복할 가능성이 있기 때문입니다.
네.
Now, Pentagon Pizza Report. What is that?
We got to talk about that, right? It's an open source intelligent report, and it tracks spikes in pizza orders that are near the Pentagon. Basically, the theory is that if the people in the Pentagon are up late planning attack or planning some sort of military operation, they're going to be ordering pizza because they're going to be working so late, right? So, for example, before Israel's strike on Iran last year, there was a lot of increased activity at nearby pizza locations. But it's not necessarily accurate because Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that, well, he kind of joked that they could deliberately order a whole bunch of pizza just to kind of throw people off. So they just want people to know that they're aware that they can be tracked that way. And they do have different ways of hopefully throwing people off the scent.
Right. Another way to go about it would be to diversify the kind of foods that you are ordering.
Yeah, nobody can order the same
Right.
thing.
펜타곤 피자 리포트 아마 들어보셨을 거예요. 국방부 인근 피자 가게들의 주문량이 급증하면 이제 군사작전 임박 신호라는 이론에 기반한 민간인 계정인데 이번에도 피자 주문 지수가 올라가는지 언제 올라가는지 얼만큼 올라가는지 사람들이 관심 있게 보고 있습니다.
네.
Okay, let's have a look at this expression. On the brink of something.
The brink is the very edge of something. So if you're on the brink, you're very close to a very significant thing happening, some kind of extreme event. Usually it's something very serious or dangerous, but it could be something positive as well. You could be on the brink of stardom, for example, but usually it's the two countries are on the brink of war, or the company is on the brink of bankruptcy. It's often something that you don't want to be on the edge of. You want to back off a bit.
On the brink of something. 여기서 brink, B-R-I-N-K 이게 절벽의 가장자리거든요. 그래서 on the brink of something이라고 하면 뭐뭐 직전이라는 뜻입니다. For example, on the brink of war, 전쟁 직전, on the brink of bankruptcy, 파산 직전, on the brink of tears, 이제 울기 직전 이런 combination이 가장 많이 사용되고요.
네.
Here is the story once again. The U.S. State Department has directed non-essential staff and family members at the U.S. Embassy in Beirut to leave Lebanon. With military options against Iran reportedly under consideration, the region could be on the brink of a wider conflict.